TUGAS BHS, INGGRIS KELOMPOK Pendidikan Biologi D.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Inaya from class Biology D. Okay. Evolution is a change in the body's structure of living things that take place slowly in a very long time. The phenomenon of the finch bear and the Galapagos turtle raised the idea of Darwin to express the theory of evolution. Scientists who inspired Darwin's theory of evolution are Charles Lyell with his book Principle of Geology Donation, Variation Due to Natural Influence, Thomas Malthus with his book The Principles of Population Donation Theory, Natural Selection Due to Food Availability. Evolution in a biological studies means change to the nature of the existing population of one generation to the next generation. These changes are due to the combination of three main processes: variation, reproduction, and selection. The nature that becomes the basis of this evolution is brought by a gene that is inherited to the descendants of a living being and varying in a population. When organisms reproduce, his descendants will have new properties. New properties can be obtained from gene change due to mutation or transfer of interpopulation and interspecies. In sexually reproductive species, a new gene combination is also generated by genetic recombination, which can increase the variation between organisms. Evolution occurs when these inherited differences become more common or rare in a population. Evolution is driven by two major mechanisms, namely natural selection and genetic fusing. Natural selection is a process that causes the use of the outlet that is useful for the sustainability and reproduction of organisms become more common in a population and vice versa. The harmful nature of become more diminished. Thank you so much and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ms. Nur Sakina S. This happens because individuals with favorable properties are more large by life reproduction, more individuals in the next generation inheriting these beneficial properties after generation. Adaptation occurs through a combination of small change in this continuous and random trait with natural selection. Meanwhile, genetic fund is a free process that produces random change. Genetic files are generated by the probability whether and properties will be inherited when an individual survives and produces. Biology evolution, which is heavily evaluated in the gradual change that occurs in the life of the existing are in accordance with the change times. According to the science of evolution, all the types of life mutual are actually from the laws mutual. In accordance with the calculation of the time and geological astronomical change according graduate change in life to occur there are five equations based on the evolutionary thinking. Humans are classified as animals. Animals themselves explain the level of development and shape such as the laws makhluk, ranging from virus, bacteria, protozoa, worms, fish to mammalia. Evolution is still until he still goes on, even if it's faster to think the process is now from the ancient period. Every curve, gap, and bulgy from this are both land, sea, or air are inhabited by the life of the mortality with a lot of amount and variation. The structure of the life of the good is still alive and the fossil can be compared in line with the appearance of the earth from the ancient time to the present.
Saya akan melanjutkan materi selanjutnya. Sebelumnya, perkenalkan nama saya Evi Susanti dengan NIM H03203337. Langsung saja, this comparison can be obtained from physiological equations, biochemistry, and species difference through the current genetic constitutional analysis. Based on the comparison of the detailed compared to the life of the evolutionary concept of the evolution. Understanding the concept of evolution can arise both naturally and logically from the sense of genetics. This concept appears not from history, but is proposed based on the results of research and through two-phase observations of the equation and difference in the structure and function of various parts of the world, including the result of research and observations of Charles Darwin. Changes that occur in chromosomes and genes are the basic material of evolution. Insulation usually leads to the emergence of new species and natural selection by the difference of reproduction and mutations. There are 5 advanced principles of at a time of evolution occurring faster than others. New forms appear and all forms of extinction. The rate of evolutionary speed does not last out each different organism. Generally, the early evolution is fast rapidly when the new species appears and then slow if the group is formed. New species are not a form of the most perfectly lively, but comes from simple forms that have not been specialized. Evolution is not always from a simple to the complex. It turns out the many examples of regressive evolution is of complex form to the simple form. For example, is the case where it derived from the winged flesh that can fly and develop into a non-winged and cannot fly. Sekian dari saya, terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik, perkenalkan nama saya Rosmidayanti, NIM H03203350. Saya akan melanjutkan materi kami. Evolution occurs in the population, is not in the individual by the process of mutation, differential reproduction, and natural selection. A rapidly evolutionary history of many things and other experts that affirms the development of Darwin theory. Among others, the expedition to the Asian Galapagos is found that the difference in the form of the half final bird due to the difference of the foot type. The Gergler Charles Lyell 1830 states that the rock on Earth are always changing. According to Darwin, these things are likely to influence his living things. This talk is also based on his investigation on the fossils. The Malthus economic opinion states the indicator increase in the population of faster than the increase in food production. This cause is compassion for survival by Darwin is compared to the selection performed by the breeders to avoid suppression seeds. The mastery of moles disease is the idea that population growth is to prepare the ground of food supplies. Malthus concluded that human quantity will be coupled to the flowers of poverty and are being stomached. In the long run, there is no technological advance that can different the circumstance because the increase in food sample is limited, will infinite population grow, and the earth is unable to provide food to maintain human existence. Some opinions, such as Gifford 1829, Wiswell 1813, Grant 1826, Frege 1851, and Raffines Quinn 1836. The evidence of the evolution of planting sperma plants has a long history in his life. Sekian dari saya dan terima kasih.
Kelas, saya akan melanjutkan materi selanjutnya. Sebelumnya, perkenalkan nama saya Elmi, NIM H0320334. Langsung saja. There are plants that dominate the land of the time to the age, while in other times, the number of plants is reduced or even extinct. Burmese host-sperma is now exploring plants and emerges the most in the plant evolution. This angiosperma group has the highest diversity when compared to other plants. The evidence that evolution is a source of diversity can be obtained from the fossil. The distribution of components of growth organisms, geographical variation, and environmental studies. The oldest fossils are recorded at 425 million years old, demonstrated by the assistance of farm fossils, fir, conifer, and some other variation plants. Meanwhile, in 130 million ago, flowering plants began to color the earth's surface, and beyond the two times it we not know for certain how all plants were evolved from flowering plants.